As Sherman put her view afterwards, there's certainly a viable option, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't be catastrophic, she told me in an interview. Are any of the military options not catastrophic? Probably not. Other sources told me that this was also the bottom line in Shriver's briefing. This is a sobering reality check on the continuous American rhetoric of all options are on the table. Serious experts, Republican and Democrat, concur that the idea of a quick, clean, costless, surgical strike to obliterate North Korea's nuclear weapons is simply unrealistic. The Trump administration is divided in grappling with its options. One school of thought in the administration favors maximum pressure on the Kim Jong-un regime. Donald Trump is the spokesman for this view, threatening fire and fury. The other wants engagement. The Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, is the most prominent voice in favor of U.S. dialogue, although he has been publicly contradicted by Trump. In Tillerson's most recent comments, he said that the president had made it clear to me to continue my diplomatic efforts and that those diplomatic efforts will continue until the first bomb drops. How can these competing impulses be reconciled? A senior administration official told me engagement and pressure, it's almost an oxymoron, but it's the only way to keep unified. By which he means it's the only way to keep the factions in the U.S. government unified. Donald Trump wants to put maximum pressure on North Korea, threatening fire and fury. PhotoApka suggests that the Trump administration will continue to offer the duality of threats in dialogue, side by side, for some time. Asked about America's options for a military strike, the senior administration official told me it's not all or nothing, there are options in between. But there are enormous retaliation risks. Right now, our folks don't think it's worth that risk. The difficulties are, first, that the U.S. doesn't know where to find all the North Korean research and production facilities and weapons. So an attack might destroy part of their setup but would probably leave some intact. The North Koreans recently made the breakthrough of using solid fuels for their international continental ballistic missiles. This means that it's much harder for U.S. spy satellites to spot the long-standing telltale sign of imminent launch, liquid fueling hoses and apparatus. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is the most prominent voice in favor of U.S. dialogue. PhotoApp second, any kind of military attack risks provoking a North Korean attack on its immediate neighbor, South Korea, and the 120,000 Americans living there, including U.S. military personnel and their families. Pyongyang has spent the last 60 years preparing a massive artillery barrage to annihilate Seoul, just 50 kilometers from the border. Seoul had a population of 10 million and the Greater Seoul conurbation has more than 20 million. Whenever the U.S. tries to engage Seoul in making contingency plans for evacuating the Americans, the South Koreans refuse to engage, according to knowledgeable U.S. sources. South Korean officials have long feared that the U.S. could attack North Korea without due heed to the lives of the citizens of Seoul. They evidently fret that the withdrawal of American citizens could liberate Washington to unleash hostilities. It's not only the military options that are laden with uncertainties. So is the prospect of dialogue. Rex Tillerson has said that although the two countries do not formally recognize each other, the U.S. is in contact with North Korea through 3 indirect channels. However, a senior administration official told me that while we do believe a diplomatic path is viable, and we want to pursue it till it's exhausted, we have been disappointed with North Korea's responses. Kim may not be ready to negotiate yet, says the official. They may not be done in capacity building. It's obvious that they've tested their ICBMs going up and down, and now they need to test them for distance. He said that Washington does not know the goal of Pyongyang's policy. That's why we need engagement to find out. The U.S. and North Korea are like a pair of blind boxers, dancing around each other without knowing each other's position, each braced for a blow but neither able to land a knockout. Which is why the U.S. places so much store by China, a country that has good visibility of both protagonists to intermediate. Beijing is not a dispassionate referee, however. An ally of North Korea, it's not prepared to cripple its neighbor to force a resolution on America's terms. Loading, the senior administration official says that the U.S. will continue to impose secondary sanctions on China's banks and firms that do business with North Korea, an effort to press Beijing to neutralize the North Korean threat. The Trump administration's message to China, he says, we are prepared to suffer pain ourselves as a result of sanctioning Chinese businesses, but your pain will be greater. This is America's Chinese takeaway, a fond hope that Beijing will deliver the pressure that the U.S. itself cannot. Peter Hartcher is the international editor.